Check this out. High twist, tablet mode. High twist, laptop mode. How could you not be euphoric? Of course, I don't really see the practical use of these spells, but aren't they absolutely brilliant? Or check this out. Basically, the screen follows me. It's not just me looking at it, but it's looking at me too. What you see here is the Lenovo ThinkBook iTwist 2024, and it is, without a doubt, one of the most spectacular convertibles I have ever seen. The laptops used to be boring. I let you in on a secret. Lately, every new laptop that came in for testing was accompanied by a sigh like, another one? This meaning another one just like the others? Twist is anything but boring. I'm not yet discussing the utility of these Lumos, Stupefy and other spells or gimmicks like that, but this contraption is fascinating. It's been a long time since I felt so euphoric around the laptop. But let's first see what we're dealing with. On this sample unit, I did not run any performance tests because it's a sample. That means we're not dealing with a final commercial product. But Lenovo is taking the boldness of the Twist series further. All these gimmicks, like tracking your face or changing its format following some voice commands, are exotic capabilities you don't see on just any laptop. Otherwise, the device is somewhat standard. The construction is elegant and fairly robust, it seems to be a light magnesium alloy, and the laptop remains relatively thin, despite having mechanisms to rotate, fold and unfold the screen. If we disregard these gimmicks, iTwist looks and feels like a normal laptop, and obviously it can also be used like any ordinary laptop. The keyboard is typical Lenovo, meaning very good, as found on most of their premium models, with large and well-spaced keys, a generous Enter key, thank goodness, a row of miniaturized multimedia keys at the top, and the page up, page down keys are also reduced in size. I don't mind this. The keyboard is excellent overall, a useful feature for the target audience of this laptop, namely the business and office segment. The key travel is quite long and the sound is pronounced, but not unpleasant or noisy. The trackpad is medium-sized. This model doesn't follow the current trend of huge trackpads, but it's sufficient for the laptop's body and responds well to commands. To linger a bit more on the exterior, it's worth mentioning the 1080p camera positioned on the protrusion above the display. I didn't find a physical cover for it, but even so, it's a useful addition. Connectivity is sparse. We have only two USB-C ports positioned left and right, and that's about it. On the back, at the tail of the chassis extending slightly behind the screen, there are two vents for hot air exhaust. This tailed design isn't the latest trend in the minimalist thin and light category today, but given this laptop's convertible format and the screen rotation gimmicks, it seems like an inevitable design choice. And last but not least, the screen is a jewel. It's a 10-bit OLED capacitive display from Samsung with a resolution of 2880 by 1880 pixels at 60 Hz. The image is beautiful, as you'd expect from an OLED. The blacks are deep, the colors are natural but vibrant enough, and the only drawback is that the screen is glossy, an aesthetic choice I guess, but it catches reflections in stronger ambient light. Some might also comment on the 60 Hz refresh rate. Today, more and more laptops, even among the cheaper ones, have 120 Hz displays. But strictly speaking about the iTwist, in my view, these are marginal issues, and if you get hung up on them, it means you haven't understood the purpose of this device. Twist doesn't have to be the best equipped or the most powerful convertible. It just needs to be practical and portable. Probably for the same reasons, it comes with a previous generation Intel Core Ultra 7 processor, a Meteor Lake 155H with 6 performance cores and 10 efficiency cores, with a base frequency of 1.4 GHz and a power consumption of 28 Watt. The Meteor Lake processor generation was a sacrificial one. Late last year, Intel attempted a small revolution and introduced neural processing units to their mobile processors for the first time. However, this processor's NPU delivered around 11 TOPS for AI tasks, while in 2024, when Microsoft announced Copilot Plus, the requirement was 40. But processors in this series aren't bad and paved the way for Intel's current generation. So this Twist doesn't benefit from Intel's latest processor, but this one performs decently. It is accompanied by 32GB of LPDDR5 RAM at 7467 megatransfers per second, sufficient both in terms of quantity and speed, and a Samsung SSD of 512GB. It's a typical configuration for an ultra-portable. The video card is an integrated Intel Arc, as many convertibles have, and the nearly 55 Wh battery is okay for this system's consumption. Still, we're not talking about a configuration comparable to current ones, with dozens of hours of battery life, as things have evolved spectacularly in 2024. And now let's talk about the cherry on top. The first and most interesting things is face tracking. Normally, you position yourself relative to the laptop or simply rotate it on the table to look into the camera. Twist proposes a more out-of-the-box approach. The screen follows you. When you activate this face tracking option, the display, on whose top edge the camera is perched, tracks you. I think this is really cool, even if you could just as well do without it. Practically, I don't see too many use cases for it, perhaps one where you're away from the laptop and moving around the room. The second cool gimmick is voice commands, and I identified two of them. Okay, I'm gonna activate the voice commands. And now, Hi Twist, tablet mode. And also, Hi Twist, laptop mode. And as if by magic, the device transforms into a laptop or a tablet. By the way, I forgot to mention earlier in the design section, this laptop can easily transform into a small and elegant tablet, which, thanks to the touchscreen, responds well to commands. But you can also perform this conversion using voice commands. Sure, no one is so lazy they can't fold and unfold their laptop or rotate the screen, but the voice commands have a certain wow factor. Practically, this is not a must-have, but rather a nice-to-have. Among a sea of increasingly similar and boring laptops, Twist is undoubtedly a standout. And now I have another surprise up to my sleeve, something I consider one of the coolest laptops in the world. Ladies and gents, this is the ThinkPad X1 Carbon Gen 13. If I were to leave the Apple ecosystem, this would be the laptop I'd buy without hesitation. And if Twist is an exotic toy, the X1 Carbon is something very serious. It has everything and then some. First of all, when I first picked it up and lifted off the table, I almost smashed my face. The force I applied was greater than needed for the reduced weight of this model. At first glance, it looks like a normal laptop of respectable dimensions, but when you lift it, it's lighter than a penguin feather. It weighs under 1 kilogram. More precisely, this carbon masterpiece weighs 986 grams. I'd compare it to a katana, light as a feather and hard as steel. And this despite not being a miniature portable. It still has 1.4 centimeters of thickness and dimensions of 31 by 21 centimeters, give or take, in width and length. The construction is wonderful, with a single long and sturdy hinge connecting the display to the chassis, allowing the screen to fold over 180 degrees. The keyboard is simply divine, both in format and spacing. The keys are large and slightly concave, with ideal travel, and in the middle of the keyboard sits the famous track point, popularly known as the nipple. It fits perfectly on a Lenovo, which likes to remind us of its IBM heritage. The same goes for the trackpad, which, though not very large, is divided into a control surface capable of clicks and dedicated left and right click buttons. Being a pure business laptop, it has a fingerprint sensor for quick unlocking in the bottom row of the keyboard and a row of multimedia keys at the top, sufficiently large and convenient. Above the screen, we naturally have the webcam, and the physical cover is not missing. On the display bezel, there's a manual switch that physically covers the camera lens. Everything works superbly, and I hardly know what to criticize about it. Okay, maybe one thing. Fingerprints and grease show quite a lot on this laptop's full carbon casing. Other than that, I really have nothing to reproach. Connectivity is rich and varied, with two full USB ports, one on the left and one on the right, two Thunderbolt ports in USB-C format, a full HDMI, a headphone and microphone jack, and even a Kensington lock. A card reader might have been nice, but its absence is not a deal breaker. Even the way Lenovo has embedded the logo on the lid is elegant, with ThinkPad and X1 engraved at the edge, the dot on the I being a red LED, and the X is half red. The lid lifts smoothly without moving the chassis off the table using just one finger, and somehow it doesn't feel flimsy. The party continues with a superb 2.8K OLED display, anti-glare and anti-reflection treated, with a brightness of 400 nits, 100% DCI-P3, HDR500, Dolby Vision, a 120Hz refresh rate, and a 16:10 format. What more could you ask for? It's one of the coolest laptop screens I've ever seen, as confirmed by our measurements regarding color and brightness accuracy and uniformity. The 120Hz refresh rate is there, reflections are virtually non-existent, brightness is sufficient, and the colors and their accuracy are dreamy. Add to that the thin display bezels, which increase the visible area and make the laptop appear larger than it is. Exceptional construction, tank-like robustness, ballerina-like lightness, and an excellent screen. What's inside matches this superlative exterior. An Intel Core Ultra 7 latest generation processor with 8 cores, an Arc Xe2 graphics card, sufficient for this laptop's usage scenarios, 32 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM at 8533 megatransfers per second, a 2TB PCI Express Gen 5 SSD, and a sufficient 57 Wh battery with fast charging to 80% in less than an hour. By the way, even the USB-C charger, which can be connected to either of the two ports in this format, is a compact 65-watt GAN unit, small but mighty. In terms of wireless connectivity, we have Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.3. In my opinion, this is the ultimate Windows portable. It has very few, if any, drawbacks. I also ran some synthetic tests, even though the X1 Carbon isn't the type of laptop focused on raw performance. In Geekbench 6, it scored a predictable 10,385 points in multi-core and 2,562 in single-core, consistent with other models with the same hardware. Again, the processor is oriented towards efficiency and battery life rather than cranking out frame rates. Out of curiosity, I installed CS2, lowered the resolution to 1080p, and set the graphics settings to low. The laptop maintained between 70 and 100 frames per second. If you occasionally want to play a game, CS, Valorant, or League of Legends will work on it. But that's not the purpose of such a laptop. It's excellent for office and business, and it's an ideal portable for travel. Its enormous battery life, low weight, and tank-like construction make it perfect for these nomadic scenarios. And I also stand by my earlier statement. If I were to give up my daily MacBook Pro with M3 Max and migrate back to Windows, this would be the laptop I'd want. At the time of this video, the configuration we tested with a 2TB SSD costs slightly over $2,700 on Lenovo's official global store. Even though some might find that price steep, I think it's worth every cent. The laptop is simple, robust, and has this classic air I like. And with that, we stop here. Which of the two models presented today did you like more and why? The Harry Potter style twist or this corporate katana? Leaving the jokes aside, I look forward to your opinions in the comments section below. And with that being said, please subscribe here on Technicalities. Thank you all and good luck.